Now, how many times have we heard the president say that small businesses are the economic backbone of our country? But is the Obama administration walking the walk as well as talking the talk? Scoreboard obtaining an internal letter from the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, to its enforcers outlining a tough, aggressive new plan to crack down on businesses, most of them small businesses. Check this out. OSHA wants more inspections, larger fines, regulation by shaming, mainly negative press releases about employers, and several other changes to sharply increase enforcement. Well, our next guest says small business owners already are feeling the pressure from OSHA and other regulations put in place by the administration. He says he's actually gotten 3 fines from OSHA unfairly, and he's not taking it anymore. And we welcome Gary Heffernan, the owner of Hef's Tuck Pointing in St. Louis. Do I call you Bill, Heck, Gary? What do I call you?
Call me Gary.
Gary. All right, Gary. Bottom line is, you've been in operation for how many years without a visit by OSHA?
20 years.
20 years. You got a small operation.
Yes.
I guess it's just you and a relative, right?
Me and my nephew.
Your nephew and you. Okay. And suddenly, out of nowhere, comes an OSHA representative demanding what?
Well, they wanted to see if I had some papers specifying the dangerous chemicals that I had on site, which was cement, sand, and water, plus the colors that we use for going ahead and coloring the mortar. I think that's pretty much all I needed for that.
They were calling brick, mortar, color, sand dangerous chemicals?
Yes, they are.
And they literally got away with that? On the basis of that, they were able to issue a fine?
Well, I was supposed to have that posted on the job site. I guess as a warning to anybody to come around the area that I'm using those chemicals. Yeah.
I mean, forgive me for laughing, because I know we're talking about real money.
That's all right.
And it could actually cost your business, because this eventually added up to thousands of dollars worth of fines, right?
It's $3,600 worth.
It's unbelievable. And at times, I imagine, are as tough for you as they are for anybody in construction right now. I know I have friends in construction. They say that they can barely make it. $3,600 could cost you your work, right?
Quite a bit, yes. That's a lot of money to me.
So was there any other explanation? I mean, what else did they try to get you to do?
Well, they got me for a safety line, and they got me for a hard hat that my nephew wasn't wearing. They dropped a good part of the stuff that we had down there. They went from $3,600 to $1,400. And then when I started, talking to him about, I sort of thought it was pretty ridiculous and everything else. He come back and said, listen, by looking at these pictures, we could have got you for $8,000 or $9,000. Consider yourself sort of lucky. That sort of got me to the point thinking, well, we'll just go to court. I'm not going to settle with them. Go to court. They could either drop it, we go to court. And if we go to court, I will try to make that as public as I can, believe me.
So he was essentially trying to tell you you're lucky, you should thank him, right? I mean, that's what he wanted you to do.
Yep.
Well, you don't seem to be a kind of guy, Gary, who holds back. I mean, when he essentially said you should be thanking me, what did you tell him? Well,
the way I look at it, I've never got in trouble before with, I'm running a legitimate business. I've got workman's compensation on the insurance and everything else, okay? I'm paying taxes. I'm paying city taxes. To me, it's outrageous to go ahead and go after a small little business for doing something I've been doing for 30-something years.
Yeah. Wasn't there another case, by the way, Gary, where the guy tried to tell you that something wasn't level and you brought out a level out of your pocket and put it down?
The inspector, one of the things the inspector had written down was that the scaffold wasn't level. I said, yes, it is. They said, well, it doesn't look level. So I went to the truck, got a level, put it on the scaffold, showed her that it was level. Then she went on ahead and got the name of the level just to make sure it was an OSHA-approved level.
So she was complaining about your level. She wouldn't even believe that your level was right.
Yeah, and I guess they don't have their own.
Based on just eyeing it, eyeballing it, right?
Right.
That was all she based it on. And did a fine result from that particular violation? I put in quotes. No.
No.
All right. Well, she let that pass. That's one of the things where they said, we're going to let that pass. You're like, all right, what do you think is going on here, Gary? We have a president who's saying he's all for small business. What would you tell him about his talk and what his inspectors are actually doing?
The way I understand it from talking to a lot of people, and one of them is a retired OSHA inspector, that every president changes the rules and regulations for OSHA, what they can do and what they can't do. What was explained to me is the government's broke, and they're doing this to go ahead and create as much money as they can just for OSHA itself. That's what was explained to me.
So it's kind of like a quota for speeding tickets.
Right.
So it's like a small town that needs money, so they give somebody a fine for going 56 in a 55-mile-an-hour zone.
Sure, and get it from your small businessman because they've got all the money, right?
Right. But again, it seems like there's a big difference between the talk about small business and what actually happens. I mean, this could put a lot of people out of business. Hopefully you'll survive this, but perhaps some businesses won't.
That's true. There probably will be a few people going out of business, and I could understand why. Part of it, you'd get tired of it because it's sort of ridiculous. I mean, you need OSHA to a degree. But for a small little business, when you're working on a small house and you're over 6 feet and you're telling me I need a safety line, to me that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I just don't understand it, and I never will.
Well, let us know what happens with your lawsuit. We'd be happy to tell the audience more about it as it progresses. Gary Heffernan, we thank you for coming in. Gary, best of luck to you.
Thank you.